Now, staying with issues about education, fees must fall has dominated the social media conversation in South Africa. It's a topic that first emerged last year when students took to the streets in South Africa's major cities to demand that the data costs be brought down. Apart from protests in Pretoria, Durban, Pietermaritzburg, Cape Town and many other cities, many cities again in the last few weeks have gone online to discuss South Africa's high university fees. Now, joining me to discuss this from our Cape Town studios is Brand's CEO, JP Kloppers. Hello, thank you for being a part of our network.
Great, thanks for having me. Good
now, JP, from your social media data analysis, there were obviously some interesting conversations recently around fees must fall. What have some of the big themes been?
I think obviously the overriding topic this week was Dlamini, who's the former head of the SRC at Wits University and purported to be the leader of the Fees Must Fall movement, who got arrested on Sunday last week and then denied bail on Wednesday. So that's been a big theme that's come through this week, and I think coupled to that has been a kind of shift in the conversation, which I found really interesting, kind of more almost away from the universities towards the ANC. So there was as much conversation about Dlamini as there was about the ANC this week, which is a new turn of events.
All right, let's talk about that. What were people saying about the African National Congress?
I think because Dlamini, one of the news reports that came out said he was an ANC member, some of the most shared content on social media has been the irony of an ANC member being arrested by the ANC for promises that the ANC have made, for fighting for those promises. And I think that shift in the spotlight to the people who can actually do something about what we're seeing happening play out at the university campuses is quite a helpful one.
Now, you mentioned briefly that people were talking about one of the leaders, and that would be Ebo Dlamini. And the story there is the support from Ebo Dlamini. What's the story about him on social media?
There's been less of a focus on him personally. I think quite a lot of the news content that we've been shared have been looking at who is this guy, where does he come from, and so some breakdown just on who he is. I think the overriding kind of theme, if you like, that's come through on social media is the support of him and just the fact that he was denied bail, the bizarre kind of reality that he's now sitting in a prison cell when rightly or wrongly for what he did, the kind of drawing the parallel between, the law has been front and center these past couple of months and years as we've looked at the Oscar Pistorius trial and all of that went through on social media. Why is this guy getting denied bail when others were granted bail? And so drawing that kind of inconsistency in the law being applied to people in different categories has been a big theme. I think what we're going to see play out is more of a focus on who he is. Who is Dlamini? Is he going to kind of lead this movement? But right now it's an outcry on the injustice that this movement, if you like, for the Fees Must Fall movement, as good as it is, it's being subverted by him being kept in jail. And what was surprising for me is that there's actually 9 times more support for Fees Must Fall than criticism against it in social media. And that was a surprise to me.
Is the movement still getting a lot of support as it did in the beginning on social media?
It's not the same volumes as it was, but in the last week we've seen over 100,000 kind of points of conversation, 35,000 people talking. So I think last year, October, when the whole thing blew up, it received a lot of attention. And I think that was people figuring out what is this about? What is Fees Must Fall? Should we care? Should we be worried? What can we do? And then it kind of lulled a bit, and this year, over the past month or two, has really picked up. And it's growing. It's not subsiding. It's actually getting bigger, which I think is an important thing to realize. Often on Twitter, you see trends come and go. We'll speak about them in a few minutes. But this is one that's not going away.
It's been over a year.
I think it's rightly so, yeah.
Yeah. There were other hashtags around this movement. Habib's apartheid was one of them as well.
Yeah, Habib's apartheid and then Take Back Wits were the 2 big themes that came through. Both of them, Habib's apartheid got about 12,000 mentions. The Take Back Wits, a similar amount, 10 to 12,000 for each of them. But it was a flash in the pan. They were kind of rose up one day and then the next day down 80% in volume, which is almost the opposite of what's happened with Fees Must Fall. And to me, it's encouraging that social media has kind of matured to the level that people can see through trends on Twitter which aren't helpful. And both of those, while there are elements of truth, you know, in the Habib's apartheid curfew being instituted, kind of resembling history that we read about, you know, in the history books about what went down in apartheid South Africa being reapplied here and people experiencing that in the flesh. I think it kind of has gone back to the fees must fall. In essence, what the whole thing is about is people need education in South Africa. And so the social media conversation, it kind of flashes up quickly on the Habib's apartheid or on the take back bits. But I think as people realize, hang on, those are really bad things to be following or trying to put weight behind. Let's talk about what the main thing is. Yeah. Twitter and Facebook have kind of
and that backlash, maybe quickly there, on Take Wits Back, there was a lot of backlash that the founders of that movement were not expecting. So if we can just briefly sum that up for us, what happened there?
So there, I think it was, there are a couple of categories of people that we see entering the conversation. And the students, they're two camps. They're the students who just want to study and kind of get their studies finished. Then there are the students who are saying, hang on, this is bigger than just us. We need to, even if this means it costs us a year, it's worth fighting for a lifetime of education. Then there's everybody else kind of in South Africa just looking in and thinking, what's going on? And the absent voice is the government voice. But I think in that take back Wits, it was the category of the students who are saying, we just want to finish our studies, starting a hashtag take back Wits. And rightly so, it got this huge backlash to say, take back for who? For what? You know, who's taking it back? Yeah. And so that died almost as quickly as it started.
Yeah, JP Kloppers, thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight.
Thank you.
Now, JP Kloppers there is from Brands Eye. He is the CEO at